Hello and welcome to part 2 of this lecture on the early 19th century, where we'll be looking at actual clothes of the Romantic period.
Let's get to the costume, shall we? Okay, let's start with the women's garments. We have here undergarments consisting of a short-waisted corset, as you can see over to the upper right, which does not extend too far down the hips. Then you have a petticoat, gored to flare out, as well as some drawers underneath. But you can see there, ties in the back, all ties in the back, bodice and petticoat over the corset, and then maybe some drawers underneath. By the 1820s, we start to see the transition from Empire to Romantic. We still see a high waistline, but the sleeves are larger and the skirt is fuller, which is a characteristic of Romantic era gowns. We also see a little bit of a stomacher here, don't we? Now, publications like Godey's Ladies Book and Charles Worth differentiated between day dresses and evening dresses, or also known as ball dresses. So we're going to go through each one of these in turn. Day dresses consisted of morning dresses in the morning, natch, and carriage dresses for the afternoon. Morning dresses. Okay, here we start to see the full effect of the Romantic era dress. The waist dropped down more to the natural waistline. The bodice becomes pointed, and the waist once again becomes smaller. You also see the skirts become fuller thanks to multiple petticoats. So the skirt she's wearing is not puffed out because of hoops, it's numerous petticoats being worn. Another characteristic of day dresses is the high neckline. They're usually finished with a small collar or ruff, and then a wide collar. This is a detachable collar right here. It's kind of double collar thing. This is called a pelerine. So you can take it off. You see it kind of tucks in to a belt here. That's also a characteristic of Romantic gowns. A day dress with a plunging neckline cannot be had, so we put a lace or cotton inset here, a chemisette, taken from the French. Then you have a belt or sash at the waist. Usually, well, almost always, I won't say always, but almost always you'll see this sash worn at the waist. You usually see the sleeves stiffen with buckram so they can keep that shape. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. And this is interesting over here on the right. This is the fichu pelerine. It's a pelerine that has these two long lappets tucked into a belt. So an interesting kind of look there. It's kind of a stomacher extender. Very distinctive of some of the dresses and gowns, mostly with even gowns, but we'll put it here anyway. Sorry about the train. It's train time, obviously. We see these puffed, elaborate sleeves that are inspired by the Renaissance, and because of that, they were mostly known as Juliet sleeves. More sleeves there. The jigget and demi-jigget sleeves. It's just fun to say jigget. Jigget is also known as leg of mutton sleeves because it looks like a big leg of mutton, full of the shoulders, tapered to a fitted cuff. Demi-jigget sleeves full from shoulder to elbow and then well fitted from elbow to cuff. Oh good, more sleeves. Marie sleeves, full to the wrist, tied with ribbons. Imbecile sleeves, full sleeves to the wrist and gathered to a tight fitted cuff. You can see the difference here between this and the leg of mutton is that this is full all the way down. So it's just a big flouncy thing, usually with sheer material and then cuffed, where the leg of mutton, I can't go back because of the recording, but you probably can. You'll see it is tapered like a leg of mutton, right? Everybody likes mutton. So this is the idea of the first of the Romantic silhouette, which seems rather top-heavy. It's kind of balanced in the middle. You'll see more of this when we get into the Bustle period, the later century. You can see it makes the waist look tiny because you got these big old sleeves, these big upper body. You got a flaring skirt, which will be nothing when we get to the crinolines and the bustles. But it's a little bit of a top-heavy as far as decoration too. So this is a typical Romantic silhouette. Quickly, carriage dresses, as you can see here, consist of regular morning dresses that are stuffed into a coat. This is called the pelisse, like the old one. So basically, they're taking the same gown and they're putting it into a coat. You might have these, you see pointed here, mancherons, which is a very masculine name for these epaulets or ribbons. Cloaks for daytime, the parnassus, which is basically any outer garment with a fitted waist, sleeves, and 1/2 to 3/4 length. The pelerine mantelet, which is basically a pelerine enlarged as a mantle. You can see here, this is the pelerine, right? With 2 lappets. Some kind of a overdone romantic era shawl. What's the difference between the one main difference between evening dresses and day dresses? The décolletage, the neckline. Same silhouette you can see here on the left with those huge sleeves, but it's off the shoulder. Usually a little dip in the center, a bow, a rose. Lots of times you'll see a pointed and ribbed stomacher added to it. So that's the big difference. And no hats, we'll talk more about that. A couple of things here. This is the Bertha, which is a wide collar attached. You can see here on the right a Bertha with a double row of laces. You can see the texture of that silk taffeta too. And by the late 1830s, we start to see more decoration, wide, huge puffed hems you can see, often with ribbons or silk roses, pleated Bertha collars, a barrette sleeve, which is a short off-the-shoulder sleeve there. You can see almost all the sleeves are going to stop at the elbow to accommodate the long evening gloves for a lot of times. Very interesting kind of, I'm not sure what that decoration is, so I'm going to move on. So we start to see, by the 1850s, we want rounder, fuller skirts. Damn it. Bertha has one. Charlotte has one. I want fuller skirts. So we start to see heavier petticoats made of linen and horsehair blend called crinoline. So we talk about the crinoline era, we think hoop skirts, but the first crinoline dresses were made of crinoline, which is a horsehair linen blend. Up to 6 petticoats were worn. 6. This is very heavy. Now, you can understand, if you lived in Mississippi in the 1840s with no air condition, and in July walking around with 6 horsehair petticoats, think about, well, yeah, you really would have the vapors and couldn't do very much. So, but that was the prevailing fashion. And we'll get to more of that when we get to the crinoline period. Now, in protest, woman suffrage activist Amelia Jinks Bloomer said, I'm not going to wear that. That's stupid. She's right, it was. But anyway, she didn't wear it, so she advocated, if you want to be comfortable, ladies, a nice riding coat over Turkish pants, salvars. So people made fun of her. Those trousers came derisively to be known as bloomers, even though I think most women of society secretly wanted to wear bloomers because it'd be better than wearing all those crinoline petticoats. Okay, hairstyles, real quickly. Sausage curls, most characteristic of this era. Those large things that look, curls that frame the face that look like sausages. Plaited or curled hair, looped, encircling the ears is a big one a lot. You see this one, whoop, around the ears, up and over the head. And then the chinois, which is pulled to elaborate top knot. Then you stick flowers or ribbons in it. Not quite the 18th century stuff like boats, but there's birds. There's stuffed birds in some of them. Straw hats were very popular during day wear. If it's inclement weather, you're going to wear a bonnet, a poke bonnet, or a capote, which is a soft crown bonnet. Or a coal scuttle bonnet, which is like a poke bonnet, but deep to accommodate those top-knot chinois headdresses. You do not wear them in the evening, thank you very much. Not done. Let's move on quickly to men's garments. We see here kind of a satire, but not. Since romantic silhouettes were more fitted, men would emphasize shape. Pads to emphasize the shoulders, thighs, corsets to reduce the waistline, high cravats and stocks to lengthen the line of the neck. So looking pretty good. But the clothing itself is not terribly varied. So you're going to see some pretty common things here. You have here the frock coat with a waistcoat underneath. This is a single-breasted, medium length, velvet collar, no lapels. Here we see a frock coat pleated in the back with a flare to the skirt. And you see, they are well fitted at the waist. So they are kind of darted and gored, so to speak. And then a tiny little bit of leg of mutton, just a little bit, a little puff at the arm's eye there. Other jackets, a cutaway tailcoat, single-breasted Newmarket, and the box coat, which will become more like the modern suit coat, a short, unfitted jacket, double-breasted with lapels. Waistcoats are about the same. Lapels were narrow and deep, usually lined in satin or silk. This one over here, you can see where the air is pointing, is a hussar front, which is a point at the bottom also. So you have the straight across, and then the hussar. Trousers, pants, pantaloons, you can call them what you want. Long, well fitted, some straps, white, light colored. If you want to wear a military type, you're doing a dark wool with a stripe down the side, like here. Most are fall front, but you're starting to see some button fly fronts catching on in the 1830s. Outdoor coats, top coat. What can I say? It's a top coat. It's very well fitted, you can see. Flared skirts, fitted waist, longer, double-breasted usually. Frock coats aren't double-breasted, but top coats are. You'll notice here that women have 4 outfits to wear a day, and men just 1. So who do you think's in charge of that? So men just put on a greatcoat, top coat. It's cold out. How about a greatcoat, which is a long overcoat with deep rolled collars right here. An opera cape. You just swoop it on. There you go. Look, he's wearing the same stuff he wore all the day. What's the difference between his day wear and night wear? An opera cape. Artists, as I mentioned before, artists in the romantic vein cultivated a style of studied casualness. It was very carefully set up. Here you see Alexander Dumas pair. Just look at him. He's sitting there with a wrinkled, unbuttoned frock coat, slouchy waistcoat. He's wearing boots in the house, riding boots. That rogue rapscallion. And then long hair, stubble or small build. I haven't got time. I'm an artist. I haven't got time for fashion. Even though he's probably spent 2 or 3 hours getting that look together. Accessories for men. Top hats have an upward curving brim. Popular. Could be worn day or night. Who knew? Sideburns, very common. Median cut hair with a wave. 2 main accessories, a walking cane and a little quizzing glass. And of course the chief accessory was the cravat. So you see it's basically that round stock, which may or may not be attached. You see the a la Byron is sort of the stock, the round stiff part, maybe stiffened with buckram, or maybe just worn a high collar, separate high collar, and you would wrap this around. But you can see there's a few different variations. There's a lot of variations. These are just 4. Some quick examples. Most of these are masterpiece theater period dramas, like in 1994, Middlemarch, which is Henry Miller, I would say. But you can see a very good carriage dress with leg of mutton sleeves, a very nice cravat on a very young Rufus Sewell, right here, and under the high collar, or over the high collar. This was another series, kind of an 1840s Downton Abbey called Return to Cranford. You see all these ladies in their finest Sunday go-to-meeting church wear. You can see here, nice color, this purple, and then she's got the fichu pelerine with the lappets, so you can see it in action there. Lots of coal scuttle bonnets, and straw hats. Early Dickens is all about the Romantic period, so like Martin Chuzzlewit's, the Pickwick Papers, Christmas Carol. You see here very nice dresses with fichus on them and sausage curls, and you can see some men there with a little bit of a hussar front. Watch quizzing glass, check. Walking stick, check. Carriage dresses, check. Gentleman Jack is an excellent series on HBO a couple of years ago. It's about a real woman who dressed up in gentleman's clothing. She wasn't trying to be trick anybody or anything. That's just the way she liked to dress. And she ran her property well. You can see some excellent gowns here with these puffed demi-jigget sleeves. I'll get it someday, I swear. Nice bonnets. Over here on the left, the nice curl of the hair there, this curls. And then the demi-jigget sleeves there. Jigget sleeves. I swear to God I'll get it. With a low cut. And then nice cravat, waistcoat, and she's wearing a skirt. So And that is that.
Thus concludes the lecture on the early 19th century. I will see you again for the last of the lectures of this class, which will be the late 19th century, which includes the crinoline period and the bustle period. Thank you.